I told you to be careful. I told you keep your guard up and watch what you say. I told you there'd be people that could make you trip just standing in place. You didn't believe anything that I said.
Welcome back to the channel, and with 2023 finally behind us, I'm here today to tell you my top 5 most anticipated movies of 2024. But before we get started, if you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like, share. It does go a long way in helping this channel. And with that out the way, let's continue on.
And here we go.
Now this year, there are a lot of movies that I'm highly excited to watch, such as movies like Joker 2 and Mean Girls 2.
Huh? What?
Yes, I did say Mean Girls 2. But those two movies are musicals. While I will watch them, they're not day one for me. Along with movies like Mortal Kombat 2 or Ghostbusters, I am going to watch these movies. But the movies I'm talking about today are the 5 movies that the day of their release, I have to see it. I'm anticipating their release, and these are the must-watches for me. So kicking things off, I do have one honorable mention, and the reason why this one isn't in my top 5 is because there is no release date for it. And honestly, we don't even know if they're making a movie, but that's any Friday the 13th movie. Now we are getting a TV series later on this year at Peacock, but I'm hoping this TV series, with the legal troubles behind us, we could finally get a movie. We have not gotten a Friday the 13th movie since 2009, and it's about time for that to change. So any Friday the 13th movie, I am going to be looking forward to, and hopefully the TV show will be such a big hit that it will persuade Hollywood to go ahead and greenlight a project so we can get a Friday the 13th movie either the end of this year or beginning of next year. So Friday the 13th is my honorable mention. So kicking things off at the number 5 spot, taking the 5th place of a movie that I'm really looking forward to, is Gladiator 2. Now the reason why this one isn't a little bit higher is because I really don't know much about the story going forward, other than Denzel Washington is going to be in it. So anything he's in, especially lately, the last 4 or 5 years, he's been nothing but gold. But the original Gladiator is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
It tells a perfect story. It's directed beautifully. Even though I know the character that Russell Crowe would not be returning because he died in the original, I am interested to see a continuation of that story, or a continuation from someone that he came in contact with. So Gladiator 2 will be out later on this year, and it's the number 5 most anticipated movie for me. Coming in right after that, holding down the number 4 spot, is a movie following behind 2 very fantastic movies, and that is A Quiet Place Day One. The only reason this one is not number 1 is because it's not a direct sequel to the first 2. This one is a prequel following a different family, which I assume to be the first day of the outbreak, even though we did kind of get that in a small flashback scene in Quiet Place Part 2. The way this movie is directed, the story that it tells, and the approach that this movie takes in telling that story is unique, and something that I really was surprised after I watched the very first movie. Going into the first one, knowing that it was a horror movie basically where you have to be quiet, I was sort of skeptical of that premise. I didn't know how well it would translate the film, but not only was I wrong, this movie was actually fantastic. It was one of the better horror movies of that year, and when they followed up with part 2, I think that elevated the story even more, and I really enjoyed part 2 more. But this is a spin-off, and I'm interested to jump back into this world that has been created. And Quiet Place Day One, number 4. Now these next 3 movies are movies that I've been waiting for several years now, and these are definitely day one watches for me, movies that I assume before even seeing that these probably are going to be classics. And coming in number 3 is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Now, the last trilogy that we got in this reboot of Planet of the Apes are 3 of the best movies that we ever got, and they're one of the more perfect trilogies of any genre. Now, the premise of this movie goes back to the original Planet of the Apes, which came out in like the 50s or 60s, where the apes had inherited the Earth, and they was the primary species on Earth, and humans were pretty much treated like animals, because by this time in the storyline, humans are pretty much non-existent. A few that are look like they're held captive or treated as pets or hiding off to the outskirts of their own. So this movie, I do believe, is a continuation of the story from Caesar's son point of view, and I'm really interested to see what this movie has to offer. The only hesitation I have with this movie is it's going to be produced by a different group of people, but with the success that they had with the original trilogy, I don't think they would just hand this project over to just anyone, and I do have high expectations for this movie. So Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, number 3. Coming in at number 2 is the movie that I've been seeing and the number 1 spot on most people's list, and it was pretty much my most anticipated movie until I heard about number 1. And for me, number 2 is Matt Scene. If you don't know what Matt Scene is, it is the concluding chapter, the end of this trilogy of X and Pearl. And if you haven't seen either one of those movies, what are you waiting for? Go check them out. They're classics. Now, I do like the tone of X more than Pearl, but even with that said, Pearl is still a very good psychological horror movie. And if Matt Scene can deliver on the quality of movies that we got so far with the first 2, even if it's slightly worse than Pearl, this will be the best horror trilogy we've gotten in decades. I'm really feeling the 80s aesthetic that this movie is going with, and I'm really interested to see how Mia Goth's character Matt Scene transition from the innocent girl in X to the psycho killer in Matt Scene. I do have my speculations of what's going to happen because she is an actress, and Pearl was trying to get into acting, which kind of drove her crazy a little bit. So I'm really interested to see the parallels that Ty West come up with. So Matt Scene, number 2. Which leads me to my number 1 most anticipated movie of 2024. And for me, that movie is Alien Romulus. Now, this movie was originally slated to be a Hulu exclusive, but with the success of Prey, they decided to give this a theatrical release, and I'm really excited about this one. The first thing that got me really excited is Fede Alvarez is going to direct this movie, and if you don't know who that is, he's the guy that gave us 2013's Evil Dead, along with the movie Don't Breathe. So I do like his approach to horror movies. So far, he's batting 100, and by them downscaling the Alien franchise, going back to the basics, where you have a scaled down crew who's isolated, who's about to be attacked by this creature they do not understand. I think this is going to do wonders for the franchise. As we saw with the movie Prey, scaling back some of the stuff, going back to the roots, bringing back the feeling of isolation and dread. It really does wonders for the franchise. It's like over time, Hollywood think the more money you throw at a franchise, the bigger explosions you have, the better it's going to be. But most of the time, they lose focus of the reason why we love these movies. And for those that don't know, Alien is one of my favorite franchises of all time. So I'm really looking forward to this next installment. And Alien Romulus is the number 1 most anticipated movie for me. So what do you guys think? What are your top 5 most anticipated movies of 2024? A couple of them from my list, or a few movies that I didn't mention that you're really excited for? Let me know in the comment section down below. And right now, I do have a poll going on my community page of the next movie franchise that you want me to cover once I'm done with Friday the 13th franchise, which I should be wrapping up real soon. I only have 2 more reviews, the remake and Freddy vs. Jason. And then I'm going to finish that one off with ranking the franchise. And I will be including the fan film Never Hike Along in that ranking, just so we can get a nice number of 13. So don't forget to go vote. Right now, I believe Alien is leading the poll. And as soon as I'm done with the Friday the 13th franchise, I will jump right in that. And remember, these are just my opinions, so let me know yours in the comment section down below. And keep your eyes open for my next video.